Hello everybody, my name is Catherine Wilson and I work as the Primary Improvement Lead for Maths for Corvus Learning Trust. I also work at Danesfield School and teach reception class 4 days a week. I have enjoyed lots and lots of the BBO Maths work groups focusing on embedding mastery, and today I'm going to share with you lots of different ideas about how you can use resources at home to support your child's learning. So the first skill we are going to focus on is our number facts, and we are particularly going to focus on our number bonds to 10 and our number bonds to 20. Even though they are skills that the children mainly use in Key Stage 1 and become familiar with in Key Stage 1, we use this maths number bonds to 10 and number bonds to 20 all the way through the rest of our maths learning because they underpin everything else. So for example, our numbers to 10 underpin our whole decimal system. So whilst, for example, at the beginning, the children have numbers or counters where each counter represents 1, further down the score it might be that each counter represents 10 or 100 or 0.1 or 10% or 1/10 as a fraction. It can be used the whole way through Year 6. So a few different games that you can play here is just children building an amount. So you might say, can you show me 0.4 on a 10 frame? Can you show me 80% on a 10 frame? Can you show me 300 on a 10 frame? And they can build it in different ways. Or you might do another game, which is what we call like a flash and reveal. So you ask the children to close their eyes and then not to look. And then you could show different amounts really quickly and they need to tell you how many are there. So in this case, it might be that you're showing 5, or you're showing 50%, or you're showing 5/10, or you're showing 500. And you can use the counters at home. I've just got some craft counters here. You could use pasta, you could use Lego, you could use sweets. What we would encourage is for children to use counters that are the same colour and the same size. So that's our number bonds to 10. And we would do the same with our number bonds to 20, but using 2 10 frames to represent our number bonds to 20. Another familiar game is the idea of using pairs or using snap. So I'm making up my own cards here to focus on number bonds to 20. I've used 2-digit numbers in one colour, post-it note 1-digit numbers on a different post-it note colour, and the idea is they turn them over, 15 and 6, 6 and 15, does this make 20? And if not, putting them back. You can adapt this activity to be number bonds to 100, number bonds to 1,000, number bonds to 1 and use decimals and percentages. You could adapt it again as times tables or equivalent fractions, anything that can match to come together. And another activity you could use for your number bonds to 10 is an activity I might call Go Fish. So children of all ages love taking things out of other things, even if it's tins, or taking them out of a shoebox, or taking it out of a sock. So I have made my own raffle tickets. The children love doing this as well. Taking it out, opening it up, and deciding if this raffle ticket is true. So here I've got my doubles. Doubles are again another number fact skill that's really important. So 6 and 6 is the same as 12. 6 and another 6 equals 12. Is this true or false? Well, I know it's a double. I might build it using my 10 frames to show, and it's true. And carrying on. And in here you can have raffle tickets depending on what skill you're practicing. So you can adapt it for fractions or percentages, or doubles and halving, or your number bonds to 10. It really can be whatever skill you are looking at. Now we're going to talk about different activities you can do to help your child with their place value understanding. Place value talks about the value of each digit within a number, and that could be a 1-digit number or it could be a 7-digit number in Year 6. So we are going to start by having a look at a place value grid. This is something the children are very familiar with. This is a 3-digit place value grid of hundreds, tens and ones rather than units. We call it ones. And you can make your own one going further up to thousands or even into the millions, or you can make it into decimals as 0.1, 0.2. The children are very familiar with place value grids. So for this activity, I'm going to be building different numbers. So I'm just using dice here to make up my own numbers. You might use playing cards. There's lots of interactive spinners online that children can use. So I'm making a number here of 231. So if I'm trying to build 231, I'm going to use my own place value counters that I have quickly made using chopped up pieces of paper. 231. What's really important is that each counter has a different representation depending on which place value column you use. So in this number 231, I'm just using place value counters of different colours, and I have written the values on just to help. You can also make it much more fun. Rather than using place value counters, you could use sweets. So you could say, for example, these Haribo sweets, the bottles are worth the hundreds. You could have the rings for the tens, and then you might have the eggs for the ones. So you can build numbers in different ways as long as whatever counter you are using is different for each place value. Another option that the children do use quite a lot at school is like a bundle of spaghetti for the hundreds, a smaller bunch for 10, ideally 10 pieces of spaghetti for the tens, and your ones could be your individual sticks of spaghetti or individual pieces of pasta here. So here I have 100, I have 10, and I have 3 more. So I have 113. So that's one activity you can try at home. Another representation children use a lot is the part-whole model. So here, for example, I'm looking at a 3-digit number, and I'm just using plates to build my part-whole model. I've just got some glow sticks here just for the connections between the whole and the parts, but you could use spaghetti or diffuser sticks or anything you've got at home. And the number I have here today could be 356. So in the number 356, the children could build it in different ways. 356. So they might have their eggs as the hundreds. They might have hearts for their tens. And then they could have 6 pieces of pasta for their ones. As long as each place value column has a different number. This is called standardised partitioning, because we're breaking it into the hundreds, the tens and the ones. You could also change it so it's not in 356. You could say that there's 3 hundreds and there's 4 tens, and then you've got 16 ones rather than 6 ones, just to make it harder for the children. You can break it down in lots and lots of different ways. And again, you can change this for larger numbers. You can also change it by saying I've got the number 356, but I'm going to partition it only in 2 ways. So I might say I'm going to have 350 in one and 6 in the other, or I might change it again and again, depending on how many parts I want to split it into. So that's a part-whole model activity that you can try at home. And lastly, another game that the children really enjoy is looking at building numbers with playing cards. So again here, if I'm trying to turn over a number and build the biggest amount, I might have a selection of playing cards, and I'm trying to say I want to build the largest 3-digit number or the largest 4-digit number and take it in turns. So I'm turning over and I've got a 2 here. I'm trying to make the largest possible 3-digit number using my playing cards. If I've got 2, I'm probably not going to put it in the hundreds, because that's only going to give me something as big as 200. I might turn over a 9 later and have 900, so I'm going to put it in the ones. I've turned over a 4, and again I'm thinking I think I might get lucky and get a number larger than 4 for my hundreds, and then continuing to build the largest number you can make, competing with other people at home to see which numbers they make. The whole point of this activity would be reasoning when you're picking up a number, which place value column is it best to go in? Are you trying to make the largest number, the fewest number? And just reasoning with the children and encouraging their language at home. Okay, so now we are going to talk about some activities for fractions at home. Lots of our children and parents feel quite wary of fractions, so it's something that we need lots of practice with all the time. So fractions can link to decimals and can link to percentages as well. So the first thing I've got here are some DIY dominoes. You might have dominoes at home. I don't, so I just quickly made my own. So here I have got 5 and 3, or 3 and 5, and I'm going to use this domino to represent 3/5. So if I have the fraction 3/5, I know that the denominator is telling me the total amount in the set. So for example, I know that this is out of 5. So I'm going to have my 5 army men, and I'm going to be looking at 3/5. So at the moment, this does not represent 3/5 because they are all the same. So I need to swap out 2 of them and put them with 2 other things. So this could represent 3/5. 3 out of the total set of 5. Or you could say that it represents 2/5 as well. And that's a great discussion to have, because the children can see that if you've got 3/5 and you're adding them to 2/5, and that makes the 5/5, which is 1 whole. Again, I've got a few more dominoes. It's really good for children just to practice building fractions to make sure they understand the difference between the denominator, the total amount, and the numerator, part of the total. Another activity that's really good to play is for children to discuss what they can see and reason in different ways. So I'm going back to my 10 frame here, and I have a selection of coins that I'm just going to put on my 10 frame. I'm going to use 10 coins for the 10 spaces on my frame. And I might say to children, just tell me what you can see. So for example, there are 3 out of 10, 3/10 are 5p's. Or you could say 4/10 are copper coins. And it's really good for children to understand that whilst there's one image, lots of different fractions or lots of different percentages or decimals can be generated from the same activity. If you don't want to use coins, you could just use a selection of different toys or different food types. And it's really good for children just to reason that whilst there's one fraction in this picture, there's other amounts as well. When it comes to building fractions of amounts, so for example, building 2/3 of 15, it's really important again that the children understand the different components within the question. So we know that the total amount of objects is going to be 15 all together at the beginning. So I'm going to be counting out my 15 objects. So here again, I've got my army men. I'm going to be counting out my 15. So I know 15 is 10 and 5 more. Going back to the numbers within numbers. So I've got my 10 laid out in a 10 frame just for easy counting, and then 5 more. So I've got my 15 amounts. Now I know 2/3 means that there's going to be 3 groups. So I need to split my men into 3 equal groups. And for some children, that might mean that they're sharing them out. Others might be able to link their times table knowledge and begin to link the times tables with their fractions and their division facts. So now I have 15 and I've split them into 3 groups. And I know that when I'm counting for this question, I'm only looking at 2 of those groups. So I can combine those 2 groups and count them to work out 2/3 of 15 is 10. So that's a practical activity that we would do at school. We might use teddy bears, we might use counters, but the idea that children understand the whole amount, the groups of, and which parts we're counting. At school as well, we always get the children to try and build their own fraction walls. If you look online, you can see lots of different fraction walls and they help you with equivalent fractions. You can easily build your own at home using Lego, or children particularly like Minecraft on the computer, Minecraft education. You can use that to build your own Lego wall, or even just paper in different ways. And if you Google on Pinterest, you can see fraction walls. There's so many different ways to try it at home. Okay, now we're going to share some ideas about how to practice our times tables at home. So we're going to begin with how to build arrays. Now I have some playing cards here, and I'm going to be looking at building 3 times 4. 3 groups of 4, 3 lots of 4, 4 lots of 3. It doesn't matter which way round it goes, and it's really important that children understand that you can move the numbers and still get the same amount. So 4 times 3, 4 groups of 3. So I've got one group of 3, another group of 3. I'm looking for 4 lots of 3, another group of 3, and another group of 3. So here you can see I have 4 lots of 3. I have 3 4 times. I could swap it around and have 3 lots of 4, and that would mean I need to change. I don't need as many groups, but I'm going to have more in each group. So here I have 3 lots of 4. So arrays are really good to practice at home. You can use Lego or you can use cotton buds in paint, and the children can build their own using paint because they love getting messy. You can change the playing cards, so you could have your 7s or your 8s or your 9s if you're looking for harder or further along times tables. And it's just a really good activity to try at home. Now secondly, further down the line, children look at multiplying 2 digits by 1 digit or 3 digits by 2 digits, larger numbers, but we still go back to that place value understanding. So it's really important that children understand when they're multiplying 92 times 3, that's not 9 times 3, that's 90 times 3. So we always talk about the place value within the number. So here I have the question 23 times 4, and I've partitioned it into 20 and 3, 20 times 4 and 3 times 4. So to start off with, I'm building my 20. I'm using the green counters for my representations of 10. So here I have a 20, a 20, a 20, a 20. I have 24 times. And over here I'm having 3 lots of 4. So 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3. So once children become confident in understanding the place value behind the number, these kind of activities really are quite easy for children once they become really confident again with their place value. So here we've got 20 lots of 4 or 4 lots of 20 and 3 times 4, 4 times 3. So the children can total the amount, counting this side in 10s and this side in 1s. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 92. As children become more confident, they'll understand that within this ones group, we have enough ones here to exchange 10 ones for a 10. So I'm going to take my 10 ones and I'm going to exchange them for 1 10, because we understand that inside 10 we have 10 ones. So with any kind of timetable practice at home, larger numbers, just make sure the children have a really solid understanding of that place value within each number. And lastly, further up the school, the children need to become very confident in their fluency of their timetables. So here I've just made some flashcards quickly using post-it notes, and I've looked at the 7 times table. Often one children's find harder because it's difficult to link to other times tables. And with flashcards, you could put them around the house and throw some beanbags at them. You could put them on the stairs. As the children go up and down the stairs, they can practice their times table. You could have them outside with water pistols as targets. Lots of different ideas with flashcards, and children enjoy making them as much as they do using them. Another one, because children love making lots of noise, I've just put on here some answers or some multiples within the 3 and the 6 times table. You could ask a question and the children could try and hit the number. On here I've tried to make links between the 3 and the 6 times tables so children can see some of them are in both timetables, some are not, and I will carry on doing this where they can make the links between the other times tables. So to finish off, I'm just going to go through a few other ideas that we could use to practice our number fluency. So the first one is a bingo game. So here I've used bingo for decimals, and I might ask, can you find the decimal that's equivalent to a half or a quarter, and they could cover it up. Another one would be noughts and crosses, where the children would have to solve a question before they get to put their nought or their cross there. This is for division I've put on here, but again, you can use it for any kind of questions that your child is focusing on. This activity of fastest finger first has a competitive element where you could ask the children a question. They might be playing with their brother and sister, or they might be playing with mum or dad or whoever's at home. You could ask a question and they need to cover up the number so they have the same numbers on both sides. Again, you can change that for any kind of skill. And also just a few practical suggestions, because it is good at the moment to try and get children away from the screen where we can. The floor is lava is something they play at the playground all the time, the idea of being off the ground. So having cushions in the lounge with some questions on them so they can jump around and onto the cushions and solve the questions, or a hopscotch game outside where the children could practice counting up or counting down in different amounts, and any kind of fun with like water pistols or Nerf guns where they've got targets and they can shoot and aim. That kind of always goes down really well as well. I really hope that you found this video useful and you've got some suggestions of how to help your child at home. Thanks everyone, bye!